All right, guys, welcome. This is Tim from The Midnight. I am the producer of all of our songs. I do all the kind of 80s aesthetic. I kind of add that side to The Midnight. And obviously the band consists of myself and Tyler Lyle, who's our singer and lyrical genius. And I get to make it all sound as glossy and neon drenched as possible. So this is really fun. I'm going to do this tutorial for Sonic Academy. When they reached out to me, I was like, this sounds great. I've watched many of their other tutorials. And this was a really fun chance for me to delve into what it actually is that I do on the tracks and kind of figure out how to break that down. So the track we're going to be looking at is one of our songs from the last album called The Comeback Kid. One of my favorites off that album, actually. I love that song. And we'll be building the track from scratch and going through the motions, and you can see what I do. And so to begin with, I'm going to put just a gentle mastering plugin on the master bus. Oh, can't even do that. Already I'm messing up, guys. It's not looking good. So it's pretty simple what I'm doing. I'm using the Isotope Ozone 6. And I think I just found a preset that kind of sounded good on when I was working on the track. And then I just tweaked a little bit. So I've got some EQ with some high end and multiband compressor. Really nothing fancy. I tend not to like master plugins that change the sound of my mix too much. I'd rather make it sound really good in the mix and then have a like it gives me more control basically rather than having to fix it in the mastering, which is never a good thing. So to begin with, we're going to be looking at the kick drum. And I'm going to be using Sonic Academy's own plugin, Kick 2, which is great. I had been using Kick a lot as well, but when Kick 2 came out, it was like, this is great because I can add my own samples, so I can essentially use it as a sampler, which is genius. So in this case, obviously, you all know, if you don't know it, it's great. It's like a synth. You can make your own kicks, but it is very electronic sounding, as you can hear. And what I'm going to be doing here is pulling down that sample or the wave and then pulling in my own kick drum, and it should sound like this. There we go. That's a bit more of a retro sound. I like that. And let's bring it up to 0 as close as we can. That's fine. So in this case, as I said, I'm going to be using it more as a sampler and not really messing around with it, even though I can add some distortion and EQ and all that stuff. But in this case, I'm going to be just bypassing that. And I'm going to be leaving the drive around 0, which is 50%, just kind of neutral. So this is good. But the thing is, on this particular sample, there is a bit of silence before the actual kick drum sample. And you will hear what I mean now when I do this. So we have to remove that, which is also great. You can do that in the plugin. So right now, if I put a click on, you can hear it's flamming, which is not good. So I'm going to change the start of the sample and bring it up to the start here. That's better. That's how we want it. There we go. All right. I'm going to send this to my drum bus. Now, there's nothing on the drum bus yet, but there will be, and I'll be looking at that in later videos. But to begin with, we are using one of my favorite EQs ever, FabFilter Pro Q. There's also the Pro Q2, which is great. But in this case, I was just using the Pro Q1. I'm going to put the analyzer on so you can see what's going on. I'm using this just to kind of, instead of boosting frequencies, I'm actually getting rid of some frequencies that I don't really like. I'm going to be pulling down around. It's just kind of the boxiness. There's a boxiness to the kick. All right, I think it was like 200. 2. And let's pull this down by like 5. This looks a bit drastic, but we're going to make the Q point a little less crazy. And it's actually a great EQ. You can be really surgical. You can really like zoom in on frequencies you don't like and just pull them down and get rid of them, or make them a notch filter and really go precise or wide or whatever. It's very powerful. It's great. but it's not very. It doesn't sound harsh either. It's really great EQ. I love it. And the next one is actually around like 3.5K. I tend to find, especially with drums, that's where you end up boosting a lot of those frequencies, and it can sound really harsh when it's going through compressors and distortion and all that stuff. And so in this case, I'm just going to be pulling down by like 3 dB. And the cue point is going to be fairly sharp because I want to be fairly precise on what I'm pulling down. That's good. And then to compensate for that, not to compensate, but bring up a little bit of punch, and not punch, but there's sort of the high-end crisp. I do like my clicky kick, as you might know, around like 6,000-7,000 hertz. I like to bring that up. So I'm going to bring it up just by 1 dB and make it a fairly wide cue point. There we go. So this is before and after. So really subtle, obviously, as you can hear. Nothing crazy. But the next plugin is a little bit more crazy. This is a really great plugin. I love it. It's from SPL. It's called the Vitalizer. It's really cool it's great on kicks. I love it. It's great on pads too. You can add some stereo imaging and all that stuff. But in this case, I'm going to bring this. This is how much we're sort of adding the given effect. Let me zoom in a bit. So you can add some drive, and I'm going to do that right now because we are messing with a kick. So let's fatten it up a bit. And it has like 2 settings that you can go really tight, and you can go really sort of a bit more thumpy on the kick, and it's great for that. So I'm going to make it a little thumpy, and then I'm going to combine it with some compression that's built in, which is great. So if we listen to how it is without the compression, then you can really kill it with the compression, but it's about finding a happy medium, and I think that's kind of around there. Also, I'm going to, I think this adds some presence. I could be wrong. Maybe it doesn't. We'll see. I just remember this is kind of how I had my kick in the mix, and I'm trying to get as close as I can to how the Comeback Kids sounded. So I want to really kind of stick to the kind of the sound we had in that track, so you can hear how we got that. I don't even know if it's going to make a difference with the stereo imaging. It might even be a mono file. I'm not sure, but I'm going to leave it there for now because it doesn't sound bad. So this is without it, and then with it, obviously you can hear. But to compensate for that, I'm just going to bring the output down just a little bit because I don't know. It's easy to lie to yourself and like go, wow, it sounds amazing, but all you did was make it louder and more distorted. So I tend to kind of like the same output before and after. There we go. Nice presence. But we're not done that yet. We're going to add this tape distortion from UE equals Satin, which is great. Let me pull in my preset for the kick here. And again, this is just a random preset I found in, it has a bunch of presets, and I saved this because I had forgotten exactly what I did to it. But what you can do is, if you listen to it, you can really add some fattening without it sounding ugly. It's classic tape distortion. It's great, and this is adding some presence to it too. So it's really nice. So this adds kind of some warmth to it. I just pull the input down a little bit, and I let it. You can choose 2 types of I guess wiring. So I want it to sound vintage, and usually that adds a little bit of kind of dirt to it. So I like to keep that. And then I pulled down the output a little bit just to compensate for what it was doing. So this is before, and that's after. So you should be able to hear there's some more low-end presence and maybe a little bit more punch on the high end. The last plugin we're going to be using is the Waves VEQ. It's great. It's like a vintage EQ. I'm just going to be pulling down kind of around 7K. Not by much, because this is a really powerful EQ. So I find that you don't have to do much. It's very reactive. So pulling down a little bit of that high end, and and then I'm going to pull the high end like around 10K and upwards. I'm going to be pulling that up, a little bit of presence, and then compensating for what I pulled down there. That's fine. So here we go. Before. So very subtle. Oh, I bypassed it. Very subtle. But if you listen to it, how it sounds now versus how it sounded before, it's got a lot more presence now. And it's got a lot more punch and the low end, which I really like, without being kind of muffly. So that's our kick drum, guys. And this was the first video of the comeback kit tutorial. So stick with me, and we will get to the rest of the drums and all the other synthy goodness in the rest of the videos. I will see you in the next one. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Thanks everybody for watching, commenting, and indeed liking. We really do appreciate all the support we get here on our Sonic Academy YouTube channel. So if you found this video super useful, please, we'd love you to hit the subscribe button. We update the YouTube channel every week with new content. And if you want to watch some more relevant content, just click on the videos beside me.